Oh, all right. Well, I guess we could get walking again. Don't need to stay out here forever. Get cold. Okay, so I guess we'll go. I can hear celestial music. Da, 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 da. It's much finer, of course. My voice cannot emulate it. Sorry. Oh, hey, hey, hey. Oh, hey. Hee, 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 hee. Oh. Hee, hee, hee. Hee, 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 hee. Hi, do you want to come through or? Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. Hey. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Do, 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 do. Would you like a gift? This is from the blue heron. This is a very rare feather. I'll take that. God bless. Do, 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 do. Da, do, 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 do. Ha, do, 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 do. And what did I find? Two brown people. Smiling and nice. Hey, 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 kind of lost it there. But yeah, blue heron feather kind of inspired. Man, I started hearing it in my head, right? And I can't, and my ears are ringing like crazy. It's like, oh, I like that. I could do more of that. I like singing. I felt good, it's like, whoa. As soon as I felt it, like, when I'm down by the river, I think, whenever I get into singing, I feel like that's what I'm here for. That's what I was waiting for. I'm all packed up and ready to go. It's like, there it is. Because I got to keep my body heat, too, so I got to get walking. But, because you're near a river, and it's like, it eats into your body heat pretty good. All the water's basically water. Yeah, if I have to have, any fear about anything when I'm out here, I take that very seriously. Anything and everyone that makes me afraid. Right? Yeah. Okay. Well, would you like to listen to what I have to say? I take it of the utmost seriousness when any member of this community is made to feel afraid to do anything that they normally do. Does that make sense? And I will do anything within my power, within the law, to make sure that that person, be it me or anyone, never has to feel afraid again. Until you're done. Hello. Hi. Hi.
Nice day.
Yeah. We're getting out. The women were the ones saying hi. The guy was just following along. He's got his John Deere hat on. Oh. Yeah, I don't get sushi at the same sushi place anymore. I don't miss it, and I didn't like it. I grew a little bit afoul of the Japanese people, actually, which is, I didn't totally expect it. It was a little off, and I was just like, I can't do this all the time. I can't do this when I want to. I was just kind of looking for any excuse not to go in there. And yeah, and just a little off attitude now and then. You know, unfortunately, I'm a little too perceptive. You know, I pick up on people's body language a lot. If I think they're just a little bit suspicious of me, or anything about me that makes them feel uncomfortable, I feel uncomfortable. That's kind of like my rule. So, you know, I mean, maybe they're sick in some way. You know? Most people have, you know, things. Right? Like that young lady with the beautiful ass. I mean, it's so obvious. It's like, how can you not talk about it? I mean, Jesus. I mean, she'd have to work to cover it up. I mean, like, what is that thing on your ass? It's like, oh, that's my ass. Oh, it's like somebody stuck like prosthetic ass on her ass. It's amazing, you know? It's not quite a reverse C, but it's pretty good. Actually, finally getting away from the river. You get that quiet. Oh, feels good. La 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 la. And that's my Christmas music. I have to listen to that when I get home today. See how that sounds. So I need to give my stomach an hour or two to get through that hamburger. Oh, so it doesn't deliver the same kind of load as a bunch of beans will, which are like a quicker protein delivery. So it takes a while for the body to find its equilibrium after eating an entire cheeseburger at 8 o'clock in the 8 a.m., right? So, but that's my fuel for the day. I gotta get the fire up, essentially, to use the fuel. I think one of the most frustrating things in my mother's life, and unfortunately a component of what comes out as almost psychopathy or even violence to me, is that given the violence done to me, although my mom is related to it, essentially literally, because it's her son and daughter and husband, and there's her sort of ambivalence for this type of thing, even when it's going on in front of her. So, but she was raped when she was young, right? So, and then she was raped when she was younger, and then you got to like adjust your expectations whether you like it or not. And then, look at that beautiful blue heron feather. And I have the turtle today. I think the turtle and some other beautiful eagle or something. It's like, it's a good day. It should be a pretty good day. And then, you know, she can't do anything about it anymore, and I can. It's a quantum of violence. So she's had it, and now it's being delivered to her family. She delivered her children to it, essentially, as a kind of Black Madonna function to produce the soul, which was that part of my, say, brother's and sister's mind that, you know, kind of becomes aggressive enough to work. This, you need a soul to work. It's the working soul, the working demon, right? So I haven't got a very developed soul. It's funny because female stalkers will be like, oh, you have such an old soul. It's like, no, I have a totally undeveloped soul. That's why I can't work. That's why I can't do a lot of things. I don't enjoy, going to a football game. Yay, team. Oh, look, another celebrity died. Let's worship them. Even though they're just mourning the loss of their mask. One of the masks they're hanging up, the mask of history, and they can never pick it up again. Once you die, you can't go back to that character anymore, right? Giving it up. They're professional mimics, actors of like an extraordinary scale. Like I said, as you abbreviate it, there's a reason why Tom Cruise doesn't need an Academy Award, because he's actually doing a much better acting job than you think. And he's also a female royalty, British royalty, married to Prince William, who also plays Tom Cruise's used-to-be wife, Nicole Kidman, right? Kid man. Make man a kid, make man a sacrifice. The sacrificed man. And when you see that, you start looking at their films a little differently, and it's, even if you use it as an imaginary lever and then leverage your way, as I worked back into that by looking at Tom Cruise films. I mean, how can you not, have seen Tom Cruise? And basically figuring out that electronically, they're ultimately geared for lesbians. That Tom Cruise really is the ultimate lesbian. And I was like, okay, I finally got it. Tom Cruise is the ultimate lesbian, And then I found out that he really is a woman playing a man. It's like, because they'll throw stuff out like, oh, he's really a homosexual, and the Scientology thing. And it all throws you off, but all of that shit is just to throw you off. They fulfill their various roles. I mean, whether they're speaking at a Scientology convention or the UN, whatever they're doing, they just fit everything. They're professionals. It's what they love to do. It's how they rule the world. A lot of variety, a lot of fame, and not nearly as much work as you might think. I mean, how long does it take to give a tiny little press interview and then leave? It takes longer for you to load the page, for fuck's sake, and work to pay for your fucking internet connection. And it's like, you're the one who's taking all the time. They just come in, do their thing, and leave. They don't need to earn money. They don't need to wonder about your angst and ennui, right? Their families are very strong. They marry for life. They live probably an average of 50 years longer than you do. Their ages and birth certificates are adjusted by about 20 years. They're highly skilled, trained, educated in the best environment. They're probably all probably trained into a high level of combat. They could take care of themselves if they needed to, but they don't have to. Highly athletic. They'll have bodyguards do that for them, right? The idea is not to let you know how well developed they are. You notice that a lot of celebrities, when they're not pretending to be fat people and ugly people, like politicians. You ever wonder why politicians are all ugly? Because they're all played by royalty. Anyway, you can kind of see that Jodie Foster played a Prime Minister of Australia for a while. Pretty cool. Yeah, you can even see sometimes the line in the latex making up her double chin. Yeah, they'll have to work on that, because even a novice like me could pick it out. And it's like, boom, there you go. I was showing it to my mom one day. I hadn't seen it. I said, Mom, it was intuitively. I said, look at this. And we both saw the line in the latex. It's like, oh. And then my mom just immediately said, nope, I'm not going to believe it. And that's okay. That's okay. I just wanted to show you something. A little line, a little rift in the celestial world of the political celebrity realm. And that line basically opened me up into a totally different world. The mask came off. And all of these people are wearing masks all the time. There's never been a celebrity where you knew who they were or what name they died under. Hitler could be in a nursing home right now for all you know. It doesn't matter. Bing Crosby, all these people. It's gross, isn't it? It's gross to think that the same actor who played Adolf Hitler saying, "I'm dreaming of a white Christmas." Do you see the incredible dark humor of that? And how badly, different colored people have been treated in the world. Not always. And it's like, I don't get the sense that the world hates all black people or hates all Asians. But I think it does hate the entire general population quite a bit. And when it does, it gets around to hating different people quite a lot, don't they? So it got around to hating the Native Indian, got around to hating black people, got around to hating, everyone, in a way, all of us. It's got around to mixing our genders around and abandoning our children to us and then adopting them from us. Yeah. And they go and they watch these movies and they fall in love with these giant nipples on the screen, making their brains go boobity boobity boobity. I mean, who glories in captivating people in darkened theaters? Is that what you want to do with your life? Hey? No, this is what these people do. Hey? They could be writing great odes and great books of knowledge and really helping the human race and spread their wealth and knowledge. Instead, they use it to control us. That's all. The entire world's a stage, just like Shakespeare said. And I'm having an okay day if I have time to talk about these things. Whew. I'm tired. I hope that sun comes back out. I'm going to get very cold. I'm tired. Yeah, well, I'm not sleeping through the night. I'm sleeping, but not well. So it's been going on for a while. At least I didn't have as bad dreams last night. That's something. And then the fat fuck leaves the building today, finally. I thought she'd never fucking leave. This is like a dream come true. I've been looking for this for a long time. And I just want to hear those words when I get home. Jackie got her stuff. But I know that when it comes to this woman, it's like, oh, she didn't come today. She's going to come next week, or she's going to come tomorrow. Because she's going to do things whenever she wants to. You know. Let's have some chocolate. Look, the sun is coming out. We got our wish. Oh, thank you, son. This is not going to be my favorite. It is a winter walk that I've developed for what I call the winter walk, that I've developed my relationship with. I haven't developed the walk. It's not like I made the trails or anything, but I've developed or trained myself to do this. And I would still say the Qualicum one's a bit better because most of it's farther from the ocean and elevated. A lot of it too. But you're going to get cold either way. Next is rain shadows. So I've got a nice log down there out of the rain. There's a tree I know that's kind of out of the rain. A couple trees. And then down here I don't really know anything. So when I'm out here I'm hooped. I think I did find some place in the forest, but you're not going to stay there very long. You need some nice little dry pocket. Just to let you, dry pocket. But if you wander around these woods enough, you'll probably find them. It's just like, good luck getting back. Oh, tired. You have to let yourself be tired. I said to my mom, I didn't sleep through the night, but I'm okay. I'm well rested. I'm well rested. The sleep will come eventually when my system comes out of shock. I've been having a lot of nightmares, a lot of very shocking things I can feel, right? I'm getting a real taste of how sick this woman really is because I've been a little loath to say this, but essentially her sickness these types of people and their mental imbalances, because I was very profuse in my anger towards her and how she was treating my mother, has been considerable backlash. But then once it's over and they're gone, it's like washing her out of my mother's life. I had to add the acid to get her out because, I mean, she'd remain hooked to my mother forever. My mother is quite the easy patsy, bit of an easy mark for her, and she just uses people. But my mom, when she has she's back in her territory now, she's out of this woman's apartment, she has spent days cleaning it, that she'll never get paid for. It's just beautiful, beautiful, just adding pure sacrifice, physical sacrifice of her time and energy after this woman sexually assaulted her with a real estate agent several times, quite the crew. And you look at what people can get on who think they can get away with in plain daylight. And then you think about how my aunt was raped by an RCMP officer in uniform in daylight in her high school, and you wonder how that can happen. So it's like people that do these types of things, professions like real estate agents who can come into people's homes and construct lies that nobody really lives there. I mean, who does that? Right? And they stop thinking about other human beings. And money does that to people. It's like a drug, right? My mom handled it very well, but I had my end to keep up. Because you're not going to do that to my mom and get off easy. In fact, they got off easy, actually. Just ugly people. And then you have to the shock of like what you've just seen. The shock. There are people like this walking around. They really are completely, like, they think they're nice people. They probably come from hardworking single-parent homes, but they have no morals. I mean, we have to understand as humans, yes, you're right. Some people have them, some people don't. You either have them or you don't. To me, you either care about people or you don't. If you're a nurse and one day you kill someone or you hurt your patient, that's the day you should walk away and find another profession. Everyone should be your dear mother and father, or you shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Because what the fuck are you getting paid for? You're getting paid to treat my mother like she's your mother. If you can't do that, then you're not really fulfilling your mandate, are you? And the truth is that a lot of nurses feel that way because they can't give the care that they want, So they have the voice too. So then they're getting tortured, really. They've all this training. They really want to help. Give them 2 patients an hour and they'll be like, let us do our best. Nurses generally are, I believe, very caring people. Geez, they want to spend their whole lives helping people to ease their suffering. That can't be easy, right? Do you want to do that? And so we naturally care for these people or admire them, respect them. Unfortunately, their working conditions, though, don't make it possible for them to do that. And so there are reasons for patients themselves to be concerned about their nursing care. That's a fact. From the nurse's perspective, that might be true if they're honest, right? But it's like, the system, the money, the finance, and you get used to it. Services get pulled back all the time in Canada, and then people get used to it. The system just tightens its belt. Now we'll have 4 immigrants paid $10 an hour to take care of your mom and dad, while the nurse has like 10 patients an hour. So everyone's care is less, and then you got the immigrants coming in who really don't care that much quite often. I mean, some of them I'm sure are quite caring people, and some of them aren't. Because quite frankly, you're not paying enough to care. Really, how many times can you take care of a woman crapping her pants? Or, until you lose your sense of, enthusiasm for your kindness towards human beings. We're talking bodily fluids, excrement, urine, catheters. I would say it takes very amazing people to do that. Okay. All these industries, and we could throw the police in there too, just to give them a hand, because they don't live well in my mythology. I do consider them predators. I don't want every single police officer, and I'm hypothetically speaking to the world, to think that I wish them ill. And I have the sense to know that if you were a police officer, you wouldn't like the sound of that, and you wouldn't want other people to feel the way I do. understood. You know, I'm not a completely irrational person. It's just, I think police, if in the right circumstance, can understand why people don't like them. First thing would be, issues with authority. This is a big one that's thrown around, especially for men. If they have trouble with authority, oh, you have trouble with authority, your father. You have trouble. It's amazing how many psychopaths, usually males, sometimes females too, sexual predators, love to sort of try to leverage in that I may have had some issue with my father, and how that really lets people into your life, and how you're apt to think like, oh yeah, that's why I'm so angry. And it's like, well, I've certainly felt a lot of anger. Yes, if you want to talk about the origins of how I got to feel the most uncomfortable anger in my life, I'm pretty sure it was at first connected to my father, right? And it took a long time to connect it to my mother, which in a sense was like connecting back to my mother. It's taken 50 years, like through thousands of videos going, oh, my mom's a sociopath and I think I'm going to die, really all day long. Please, if you see this, I hope I'm still alive. This is how I've learned to connect back to where my mother comes from and find out that she was raped. I'm the only one in her life that's ever done that. Do I get paid for that? Is that somehow something that benefits your world? It's not like slapping some new famous sauce on your fucking cheeseburger, is it? It's not really doing anything for you. I get that. But it's going to do something for me. And I have this faith in humanity that if I can do something that good for myself, that's got to be good for other people. That's all I have. That's all I fucking have. You want to know what I think I have? That's it. You think I'm some arrogant fucking cockhead? That's all I have, man. That's all I got. And that's what scares people, is my fucking modesty. In all my arrogance, what the fuck am I? A guy that walks around talking to himself. I've got myself a feather. I've sang some celestial music. It's a good day for everyone. I'm as little and as big as I need to be, and I will commend myself to the judgment of humanity, to posterity. Make me as big and as little as you think. If you want to masturbate and think my dick is a foot long, then be my guest. Just leave me out of it. It's actually quite small, below average. I try to pretend like it's bigger. Like, ooh, it's so big. Every man's dick looks big to him. It's like, you don't think that's big, honey? It's you. You should have seen what it was like a minute ago. It was like a microchip. Now I've got some serious software on my hands. Okay. Oh, software? Really? That's so cool. I love your software. Let's do some programming. Can I borrow your joystick? I heard this quip. I read this quip somewhere of a girl saying, oh, I suck my boyfriend's dick when he's playing video games and it's flaccid. I like to play with it and stick it in my mouth and examine it. This thing called a penis. So she's like playing with his dick while he's playing video games. That's interesting. I mean, and essentially, at that point, they're objectifying each other to the extreme degree, right? He's totally got his attention off of her, as much as you can get your attention off of someone putting their dick in their mouth. And she's not really paying attention to him because his attention is completely taken anyway, so she can absorb herself on what she's doing. So innocent in a way, and if you could call that innocent. I mean, I see that sort of 50% innocent and 50% like pass me the vomit bucket. Like you want to see your children doing that, right? It's like, oh yeah. And then part of me thought like, well, then Lanny, you've never had a normal sex experience or any sex experience, and how do you know that's not a perfectly healthy way to boys and girls to get to know each other, so that as they go on in life, like, okay, now she's explored a penis to her satisfaction with someone who's probably not going to hurt her because he's exploring stuff too. And it's like, now she's familiar. She has to wonder, like, ooh, I wonder what his dick is like in my mouth. It's like, oh, well, it doesn't taste that good, but if I really like him, maybe I'll try it one more time. And she's got her boundaries clear, right? So, a lot of sex for people that don't have experience, there's a naivety, there's maybe vulnerability there. I'm not saying it has to be, because I'm in favor of, withholding sex, and that young men and women can be very modest and very strong, have great boundaries, and only do that precisely when it's right, and be more likely to find a better partner and do more wonderful things in the world with them, and really enjoy. I knew this Muslim guy, and he had pictures with his girlfriend and the Niagara Falls, and this beautiful girl, beautiful guy, Next thing you know, they broke up. Like the guys, they're just superficial, right? And it's like, how do people really do that? And I don't think it's necessarily by sucking each other's genitals. But I'm not a good example. But yeah, it sounded, innocent, I guess. Not innocent for me to look in on it necessarily, but that someone's bothered to write about this and say, this is how I've explored the penis while my boyfriend's playing video games. I stick it in my mouth, and I think, I never had girls around me when I was playing video games. It was a strictly male thing. You did it in your basement, and you certainly didn't invite girls over to play video games with you. Now it's like, they've had to. Girls had to start playing video games to do anything to do with boys. The whole industry just sucked both of them in. And nobody's even noticed. Children all over the world have been sucked. I saw a t-shirt on a 6-year-old boy that said, "Video games teach me hand-eye coordination." Hey, I know what they do. They make my eyes hurt. Seeing millions of useless tasks being performed right in front of me so that I can find the goblet of fire. And I know how exciting it is. I know what it does to the brain. I'm basically retching and crying the first 2 hours I'm out here. I'd probably much rather be tucked in my basement when I was 10 with my brother, playing some new video game we rented, into the wee hours of the night and eating pizza and drinking pop. That sounds pretty good. Sleeping, getting up, watching TV at 6 in the morning, and going about the rest of your beautiful existence. It sounds pretty good to me. I love thinking about stuff that was simple as a child. Going out to the shed or going down to the pantry. I love pantries. I love sheds. I could go in there and spend an hour and think, I did something today. I loved not having anything to do. I function best. Do you know, nobody noticed, but without having any guidance, by the time I was 19 years old, I'd written what amounted to 2 books, produced a small feature film with a 150-page storyboard. I'd worked, the only time I'd worked in my life, crying in these raspberry fields because the farmer kept making me pull weeds because I wasn't good for anything else, and divided my time between that and working on the picking machine, which was just standing on a disgusting, noisy machine. And I was really glad because we didn't have to talk to each other, and picking out crap as raspberries. And he must have hated me because I didn't want to be there. I was literally only doing it for the money. It was torture. He must have alternated between feeling sorry for me and hating my guts. He tried to get me to do something a little more complex because my older brother, bigger, I guess more physically good at working, more of a psychopath also, by the way. I think psychopaths are better workers. I do. I was a useless worker. Non-psychopathic people aren't as good at workers. I want to be locked up in a studio writing some interesting film, teaching humans about alternate relationships between mothers and fathers and children so that you don't have to all be abandoned. But for a psychopath who's been successfully abandoned or grown up and become financially independent, that's a non-starter. It doesn't mean anything. It's for 1% of the population that aren't psychopaths. It's oh yeah, that's for me. They're so abandoned. A psychopath's abandoned. Fuck, who needs parents? Party! Whereas first time I went away to someone's house, I wet my bed. It's just I wet my bed when I was at home too. Everything about my parents leaving me was really hard. Physiologically. And then, knowing my parents as an adult, you get an idea of why you're pissing your bed. Because of, how they cognize reality. They can work. They can live in the world. My dad watches the news and reads the newspaper. And goes out and has tea and talks to people. I can't do that. I can't immerse myself in news media, which must be just a fascinating continuum. Are you really supposed to take it seriously? I never watch the news. Never. It's the last thing in the world I would watch. I like watching those breakfast shows, when they interview chimpanzees and stuff. And then you get to see I like to see the driving info, oh, traffic's backed up over here. Oh, too bad. Oh, traffic on the number 1 is lighter today. Oh, lucky them. Celebrating the ups and downs of the the motorized beast of the world. I guess I'm the kind of guy you wouldn't be surprised. I like CCTV cameras. I used to live with my dad in his condo on the 7th floor of this building, and he would leave to go to work, and I would turn on the CCTV camera just so I could see his truck going by the camera, and I would know, like, oh, he's gone. Good. That would be my proof. I'd wait, like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. There he is. And I'd be like, good, I'm safe. I felt like G.I. Joe, and he was like Cobra or something. It was just like, and I would like watch a little yoga, and I'd play a little Carpenters. Like, it was like, I'm on top of the world. It was on my dad's stereo, and I looked on, and I would love it. It was 7th floor, right, looking out over the town I grew up in. You know, top of the world now. Looking, I've got a Centennial Park, my favorite park, just across the street. Go for a walk, top of the world now, looking down on creation. It's like, and you know, I've had my first major bout of depression. I'm not working. I think I'm getting some small kind of welfare. I'm paying my dad something to be there, and puny, certainly not enough. And you feel like it's not enough, and you're not enough. And I'm 23, 24, 25. I mean, my dad must have been shitting bricks for all the good that I was to him, right? And it's too bad. It's too bad. I think the world owes it to you to meet you in a kindly fashion. You know, and it does that for people. I think your home is a place where if the world needs to be part of your home, your mom or your dad or both need to reach out to you from the world and say, look, we think you have to do things. We're pretty sure you're going to have to be able to do this, this, and this. But we also want to introduce you in a way that's fair to you. You know what I mean? We don't want to let you sit in your room masturbating all day, but barring that, we want to set a few perimeters for you, some parameters to work towards. And you're going to feel better as you work towards those parameters because it'll give you more options. And if someone had explained that to me and followed through, I'd be fine. Because I'm intelligent enough to think of those things. You know, I can't pretend to know what my mom and dad should have done. I mean, it's just impossible to get into their lives. And you get older, and sure enough, you realize how complicated, fucking having children must be when you've got like all this pain in your body and all this agony in your life. Like, your children are like going to the circus, like, yay, we love the circus. And daddy's like, my mother just died. I don't think any of his children said, Dad, I'm sorry your mother died. He didn't even really tell us. We weren't even really informed as children. Your grandmother died because we'd never met her, essentially. Right? His mother never met his children. Maybe saw his firstborn son. And so this also, I think, led to the separation between my father and his children. I would. Anyway, my mother didn't recall her to us. My mother hated her guts. Can you imagine being married to a woman, having 4 children with her, and your mother dies? I think she died a little before my younger brother was born. And your wife doesn't give a fuck. And your children, I mean, even though they can't, really don't give a fuck. Maybe 10 years later, they say, who was your mom? Who was your daddy? And we never did that. Because you could tell about my dad, like a lot of people like my dad. I know a sociopath who lives in his car who's kind of like my dad. He's like, he just wanted to tell you one story about his dad and maybe 1 or 2 stories about his mom where, she made him toast and tea when he was sick and how nice she was. He just really just focused on that. You could just see that was everything to my dad. He did pretty good health-wise, everything. He's done pretty good considering I had him tested surreptitiously with a Harvard personality test at Scientology where I was going, and he volunteered to test because he wanted to get me out of the cult, which is understandable because it is a cult. But that, I finally done something that made my dad want to show an interest in me, which wasn't the goal. I was grieving. And what they found is that, my dad had a lot of grief, basically undigested grief. And I was like, Scientology did me 2 big favors in my life. One, for the first time, I could cry. I sat down with a stranger and I would cry. I paid them $200 or $300 a visit to cry, okay? And to this day, they're the only fucking therapist that ever fucking let me cry and never fucking listened to me. And I just wish you psychologists would shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Shut your fucking holes. Shut the fucking holes in your head for one fucking second. Because I'm so proud of myself that I avoided you fuckers and went right to a Scientology clinic where they'll just sit and listen to you. And I cried and I cried and I cried. I had some lucid past lives here and there. One of them really proved true, which is amazing later in life, but I'll leave that. And the other was a bit dark. I was a kind of a cowboy kind of guy that murdered a prostitute and then got hung himself. And then once I was hung, I saw her spirit waiting to see me dead, and then she left. You know, it was just a miserable thing. She was miserable, I was miserable. What a fucking miserable experience. And what an awful thing for me to do, right? And he's like, well, why would you think that about yourself? I was like, well, I'm honest about emotions. I hate the thought. I guess I grew up with people who are always trying to be something they're not. Like, why not have a shadow side, you know? Of course, you know, in my first novel, that shadow appeared, and it was the shadow of my mother's rape. You know, my mother was raped. And even if that particular past life was just some expression that my mother was raped for my system to try to understand, the first character of my novel was a prostitute. And it represented my emotional body, which was my mother's body, right? And what happens to your mother happens to your emotional body. So this idea men need to be chastised into caring about female issues, when in fact, our emotional body is our mother, right? You respect men's emotional bodies. You're respecting your own emotional bodies. You know what I mean? So you don't need to be telling men what to do. You know, men's emotional bodies don't get included in just about any fucking thing in the world, right? Which is like, that's xenophobic. Women are going, I want more rights on this and that, and at least you can have fucking emotions, right? Everything out there is for your emotions, your hormones, shoes, malls, everything to make you feel good. And I don't think it works. I know it's bullshit. I mean, you're being sacrificed to the system as much as anybody, but all that to one side. This one, let's see. Top of the world now. Look, I think I need to take a shit. Here's some birds. Top of the... Yeah, I do. It'll be my second What I've been meaning to say is I had really good shit at about 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. It was like, it was 7. Anyway, really good shit. I'm about to have another really. And then I'll have my Reuben sandwich. Reuben. I like the name Reuben. I'm going to change my name to Reuben Renfrew. I'm in real estate and auto parts. Reuben Renfrew at your service. If you need a pad for your brakes or your body, I'm your man. Reuben Renfrew. Mr. Renfrew, we'd like to talk to you about some indiscrepancies in your financial portfolio. Yes, well, you talk to my lawyers. I'm Reuben Renfrew. I have no indiscretions. What are you talking about, my good man? Well, you seem to have sold a woman a shoe and told her to go live in it. You listed it here as a $250,000 pied de terre. It's more like a pied de shoe. Perhaps I'm a little typo there. Is she not enjoying her shoe? Well, she can't fit in the shoe, sir. And it was $250,000. Well, no understanding there. But what's that, Mr. Renfrew? I'm a miserable bitch. Get another shoe if she needs it. Look, if she gets another shoe, she'll have a pair of shoes. It's just the most expensive pair of shoes anyone ever bought, that's all. Hey, she signed it. That's all I know. I showed her the shoe. I showed her all the amenities of the shoe. You showed her pictures, sir, that were made to look like a woman could live inside of it. And those pictures were duly obtained by a legitimate real estate photographer, yes, of a shoe where a woman actually could live, not of a shoe that could barely fit on her feet. That is not my fault, sir. I have nothing to do about, the shoe itself. I'm just a salesman. Don't shoot the messenger. Oh, man. My mother and father. I could be wrong, of course. But my father lost his mother, who was in another country. She was out here in the neighboring city of Nanaimo. I visited her spot a couple times. And take a shit over here. And I remember him coming out of the bathroom feeling sad. And he'd lost, I think one of the most important people in his life for sure. And he had a family. And I'm sure he was happy to have people around him. I'm not sure if my mother helped him grieve or if she cared, or maybe he took a trip to Canada, but I think that was part of us moving out here. He didn't get to be with his mom when she died. And he flew out at great cost to see his brother, my uncle, before he passed. Even though knowing they would never let him in the country again. He got a special dispensation to come out. So my father essentially finished, the rest of his responsibilities to his family. The last of the uncles, or close to it, I guess, that lives out here in his family. Which is weird when you don't get to know people and when they're passing away. You knew of them or you were around them. I could say, well, I was around my uncle. I'd rather be around him than most people. But then again, what good did it do me? Sounds awful to say it, but my uncle didn't do much for me in the way that I needed. It doesn't mean he didn't try to do something. It didn't mean he was responsible for doing a lot, but that doesn't change the fact. I think the most thing I would say to people, if you have trouble connecting to children at all, is, or to some children, is that they just need to know you. They need to know you respect them. They need to know that they're somebody to you. The world's going to make a lot out of that person, just like it's made a lot out of you. And it's going to find you good for all kinds of things, but just to be thought well of by someone who doesn't have to think well of you, but just because they do and you think there's something swell about you. That's a pretty good thing to give a child. And they miss it when they don't have it. I don't know where to take a shit around here. It's extremely difficult. Oh, I don't want to take a shit. Amazing. 2 big shits today. That's nice. That's like a medical miracle. Yeah, when people don't take the time to tell you that you mean something to them at all, maybe you could assume there. But there's different levels, because people can like you But you have to kind of fit in with their way of being. You have to be like them. They can like you, because you're there and you're an okay person. But to really like you, you have to be similar to them. Okay, let's just. Purpose is to get into the open. Oh shit. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's actually sunny here. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. Couple gates. Makes me wonder where I'm going to put this blue heron feather I was given. Part of me thinks that I should leave it in this gate. Just let it be free. If it wants to blow away, you can, I guess. Thank you. Nice gift from the blue heron. I can't bring it home, it's too gentle. I know something will happen. Just leave it there. Yeah. A nice gift. A blue heron. I was coming around over the bridge or near the cut there, and I could almost see the spirit of the blue heron. Right where I went to sit, right at that edge there, I found that feather. It was like they had left it for me. I connected to them over there, their perch there. Saw them, gave them a lot of space last time, not to disturb me, because I had the previous time, fishing and whatnot. Really exhausted. Probably my body would have preferred sushi to a cheeseburger, but I thought, and I can't just eat half the cheeseburger. It's the first thing I ate today, so I was like, whoa. Ugh. Ugh. There's the leaf I brought for the bears. I'm just going to sit on this little hill, I think. Oh, mushrooms. Top of the world, never looking down on creation and your exploration. I can't back. What was that? Was that all? When I first day? Dude, doop-ba 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 doo. Doop-a-day. Doop-ba-da-bay. DuPont. From DuPont. I am Monsieur DuPont from DuPont. And we make the best things in DuPont. Do you know that we make more things than any pont in the world? DuPont, I DuPont. I DuPont indeed. My brother went to some hotel or resort in California and he posted a picture of it. And this guy my dad used to work for is like, oh yeah, we live there near there in the winter on Facebook. It's like, oh, good to know. My brother says, like, we should tell him that we'll look you up. After my brother, to have my dad's ex-boss and multimillionaire commenting on his post must be exactly what he's looking for. Let's sit here. Let me see. Yeah. My brother went on his search for money and he found it. I got my Reuben sandwich.